Welcome to Austin Eras, where we explore Austin's transformation into a 21st century boomtown and the voices shaping its past, present, and future.
Welcome to the Austin Eras podcast. I'm your host, Adam Flagg, and we're here to talk about the hidden opportunity economy in Austin. I think when people think about making money in Austin, they usually think about startups, venture capital, tech. But what are some of the biggest opportunities in this city are hiding in businesses most people completely overlook? The businesses quietly keeping Austin running while the city continues to explode with growth. Today's guest started his first landscaping company at 13 years old, sold it while he was still a student at UT, and has spent the last decade building and scaling service businesses across the South. His philosophy is simple: sophisticate the unsophisticated. And in a city growing as fast as Austin, that idea may matter more than ever. So Kade Thomas is our guest. You're a proven entrepreneur. You've done so great in your first decade out of school. If someone moved to Austin tomorrow and they had $10,000 and wanted to build a business here, where would you tell them to start?
That's a great question. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Thanks for being here.
Austin is such an incredible economy, and to your point, people think about all the high tech industries, but with $10,000 and brand new to Austin, there's so many people willing to help and find something you're passionate about and just start. That's the beautiful thing about Austin is there's no secret path or secret industry. But you can, for me, it was starting mowing lawns. For other people, it might be some other type of service. But just start is the first piece of advice.
A lot of people mow lawns though in high school and have companies. Yeah. Not very many of them sell businesses out of that. So I'm curious, like, what you think maybe is one of the elements of your success early, because selling a business is one thing, selling a business and getting a big multiple is another thing. What's the trick?
It goes back to, I think, a Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger philosophy of people plus process will equal a great product and then profit. I think people focus and think that business is all about making money. And I think viewing that more as an outflow of building a great team, having systems and processes, and allowing that to then drive a great product and then profit is been my philosophy from very early on, and it's still what we employ today.
Well, let's tell our listeners a little bit about you. So Kade Thomas is our guest. He's the founder and CEO of Emery Oak Partners and Serve Property Solutions. After starting his first lawn care business at 13 years old, he sold the company at University of Texas while he was a student at McCombs. Since then, he scaled multiple service businesses across landscaping, pest control, janitorial, pool care, exterior services, while also launching Emery Oak Partners, a private equity firm focused on modernizing overlooked industries and operationally driven growth. Today, Kade operates across multiple states throughout the Southeast while remaining deeply connected to Austin, Texas, and UT, and the city's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And you just were a finalist for the Austin Under 40 Awards, and congratulations on that experience.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a great event. So I want people to get to know Kade the person before we jump too deep into all the rest of the other things. But if someone had 36 hours in Austin, they're coming to visit you, they say, "Hey, Kade, I'm coming to town. Where are we going? What are we doing?"
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, people don't think of Austin necessarily as a college town, but the University of Texas is right in downtown. And so if it's football season, we're starting Friday night, we're going to do something out on the town. I'm a part of a group called Lobos Hospitality. We've got a cocktail lounge called Powder Room, so we're going to go eat at one of the great restaurants in town. Then we're going to go to Powder Room. Saturday, we're probably going to do a lake day, and then we're going to go to a UT football game. And Sunday, we're going to recover from all of that with Zolker Park or something fun outside.
Good. So you're big into UT. Tell me a little bit, what's your favorite things to do at UT?
Yeah, I think the ecosystem of Austin and specifically UT are just so incredible. And so, I'm on things like the Real Estate Council, guest lecturing, entrepreneurship classes, and then, participate on the NIL board of UT and get to spend time with student athletes, which is also incredibly exciting. And just get to share kind of my experience, with the onset of AI and all these other things. People are questioning what is the real value of university these days.
Yeah.
And I think it's super important. It was such a great foundation for me and is a big part of the sort of network and relationship that I have today. And just relaying that back to the students there now.
I mean, you're one of the first, I think, to rep UT in this way on our podcast. So I'm actually skipping away from, I'll come back to this in a second, but tell me about the NIL thing that you're doing as part of UT. I think that's such a buzzword and interesting topic right now.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I think that is a buzzword, and there's so many intricacies to that. But just there's the DKR advisory board, and there's so many other things. The Texas One Fund. There's all these different pieces to NIL. But what it really comes down to is what value and experience are we giving student athletes at UT, and that's everything from financial literacy to just general business. So what are they going to do? The small percentage are going to go to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
What are the rest going to do?
Yeah.
Right. And so making sure that they're prepared for that and thinking about money management and all of those different things.
I love that. It's definitely necessary at that time. Can you imagine getting $1 million at age 18? Maybe you can. But
No, I mean,
that's a challenge.
It's not an experience most people get to have. So yeah, it's interesting.
So if you could have dinner with any Austinite, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm going to give a cliche answer, but it's really true, which is Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Like, he's just such a great guy. Sit down, have a bourbon with him, and from his Green Lights book to what he's doing in the community and at UT. He's just such a fascinating person to me, and has scaled brands and done all sorts of.
It's amazing. Yeah, he's got his own tequila company too. I think.
I think it's Long Branch Whiskey.
Long Branch Whiskey. Okay, all right. So he's got a lot of things. What Austin spot still feels authentic to you? You go back and go, hey, I went to UT this many years ago. What still feels that same era?
Yeah, the White Horse and Don's Depot and other places that I think Deep Eddy. Right? I just have such the fabric of Austin in them, and whether it's a 20-something or a 70-year-old, right? They're everyone's in there together, and it's just fun.
I asked you about your favorite 36 hours, and you mentioned Lake Day, UT. Let's say it's not UT football season. What's your ideal Saturday, Austin?
An ideal Saturday, I mean, lake for sure.
Okay.
You can't beat that. But Austin is an outdoors place. It's so social here. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time saying no to things, and I think everyone is just always out and about. Whether it's cocktail lounges, whether it's being in the park, on the lake. I think it's just. My ideal would be Lake Day, followed by a great dinner at one of Austin's awesome restaurants, and then maybe a cocktail lounge after. And
you're a Lake Austin guy, not a Lake Travis guy, or is there a battle here?
I do both, but I definitely prefer Lake Austin.
Yeah, it's
sheer convenience. I think.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna take a day trip outside Austin. Where are you going?
It's a great question. I think somewhere like maybe Green.
Yeah,
I think it's just something cool. It's so different from Austin.
Sure.
Feels more old school, and you get a whole different experience.
Green Hall's amazing.
Yeah, Green Hall's great.
Casey Musgraves just had 3 shows there?
I think so. Yeah,
that's amazing. No one could get tickets.
Yeah, I didn't try, but I should have.
So what do you think in Austin? What's a business or industry you think people underestimate the most? You're seeing a lot of businesses around the city.
I have, and I think people don't realize the service company ecosystem here. Obviously we sold a commercial landscape business back in 2020. We've been building a plethora of service companies here ever since. But there is serious private equity activity here around service companies, property management, business consolidation. I mean, it is a really overlooked industry that floods a lot of money into the Austin economy.
That's true. With all the people coming, that infrastructure just needs it.
It does, yeah. I mean, you've seen the real estate booms, you've seen the tech booms, right? But you're building all these buildings. Who's maintaining them? Who's cleaning them?
That's true.
Servicing, landscaping, right? And that's you.
Okay, so I want to take you to your past. Let's go early. What did you understand about work and working with customers at age 13 that maybe most people didn't?
Yeah, it's I feel like I come from just 2 incredible parents, and my dad was in the Air Force and then an airline pilot. Mom was a marriage counselor and then built a kind of cooking school. And so I feel like it started really with the values and the work ethic that my dad instilled in me, the competition from sports growing up. But my mom, she was sort of in hospitality, right? So she was, very empathetic and understood human emotion very well. And then service, right? Through cooking school and social things like that. And so just, I think the balance and the combination of those 2 things, was we work really hard, and build a great team that can understand the service for those customers well. I don't think I knew that at age 13.
Yeah.
That's what was coming together. But as I reflect now, I think that was a big part of why.
So tell me a little bit about selling a business in college. Mm-hmm. I mean, most people, they get out of college, they hope maybe work for an employer, grow their career, maybe they'll get some equity in a company. You have this business you started at 13. it sounds glamorous, but what's the part of it that people don't understand in selling a business?
That's a great question, because you build something and you at the time, you don't really know what the value of it is until someone else comes along and tells you what that value is. And when you hear about business transactions, you hear about the headline term, oh my gosh, they got this EBITDA multiple, or they sold for this much. That part of the conversation might take a few days, right, with the acquirer. Then you spend months grinding out legal documents and going through insurance diligence and audits of your financials. It is not a fun process. Done it a few times now. Most recently to a publicly traded company. And so that's got its own red tape that you're going through. But that's really the majority of the process. And so you get so excited that you've created something of value, and then you spend months on end going through really, really gruesome things before you actually get the check at the end of the day.
So I think one of the things, I've sold a couple businesses as well, is this, sometimes your identity gets tied up in that business too. So It's not just like a transaction, it's more like your lifestyle might change as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, yes, you are known as the CEO of X or the owner of Y, and, it becomes your passion project. And then one day the light switch literally just goes off. Right. And so that's, you have to find your new passion or recreate the same passion, but in a different identity. And that's the fun part. I think we've had different flavors, but the learning experiences you have each time I think are the real magic. And it's not, oh, I sold my business. It's like, man, we built real value there. Where could we have created more value? And so going from just a commercial landscape business that I think we did a lot of things really well. There were other things that we should have done differently. And then layering on additional services was such a new value add for customers. And that's really how we came up with Serve, was the learning experiences of the previous companies.
So tell me a little bit about Emery Oak, the name behind it, and also when, after selling a business or two, did you decide, hey, I want to launch a private equity company?
Yeah, and I would say Emery Oak, so to go back to the name, that was the first tree I planted. It was an Emery Oak tree for my neighbor at age 13. So a little bit of nostalgia in the name there.
For sure.
But, it's one of those things where it's not, yes, we kind of coin ourselves as a private equity firm. I would say it's really more of kind of a hold co for some different investments I do personally, and then we do some real estate things with some outside partners, and then we have Serve. But the majority of our time, I think, is spent on Serve. We put a lot of time, effort, and energy in our real estate fund. We're kind of in the disposition phase of that, and now we're really excited about scaling Serve.
That's amazing. So you've got that going on. When did you become fascinated with service businesses? When were you like, this is the magic I want to do the rest of my life?
Yeah, I think, I built that first company at 13, and you don't think after you exit a lawn care business and go to UT, and I was in the business honors program, studied finance, studied big data, that I was going to end up back in services. But then I think you naturally, when you have built a business, sort of start to apply all of those principles that you're learning in school to whatever that business was. And that was the case for me. I was like, wow, if only I had known that, I would have done this, or I could have done that. And so then I was like, I want to go do that again with all these principles and see what happens. And then sure enough, it just created a lot of value. I think, these are industries a lot of people shy away from. They're very hard work. They're very people intensive. And a lot of people don't want to do that. But that's something I've been very excited about since day one.
I mean, part of the hard work of doing something is actually doing it.
Right.
And I think you could go to school all day long, learn these great lessons, but what do you think is your factor, your secret behind actually making it happen?
Yeah, I think, again, people think that building a business or making a lot of money or anything like that are all based on some grandiose idea that you have.
Yeah.
And I think, in the service business, everybody kind of mows a lawn sort of the same way. Everybody's in spraying bugs and pest control or cleaning pools. I think the reality is, goes back to that kind of core principle of how good are you at building a team? How good are you at leadership? How good are you at systems and processes that the team can follow? Is it too much red tape? Is it over the line of that? Or do we have the right amount of control with the right amount of autonomy? And I think that's the magic is can you build a team and can you build processes? It doesn't really matter what the product or service is at the end of the day.
What are some of your lessons you learned at University of Texas that you can recall? Like maybe a moment where a professor said something or a final in class that taught you something important?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I was in intro to marketing in business honors, and I was in my mind a finance guy. I was all about numbers and was excited to learn that. But I had this professor, Professor DeKender. She now leads all the MS and marketing programs at UT. And I learned a lot in that class. But what was really great was the next semester they launched a data analytics class in marketing. And now it was like, okay, we had several hundred, several thousand customers in this lawn care business. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know I was supposed to know anything about them other than providing great service. But this moment of taking a set of credit card data and analyzing who these customers are and the psychology behind why they're buying or how to market to them, that was so interesting to me. And I still am super passionate about that to this day, because it's just not something I'd ever thought about. To me, business was do a service, bill for it, and get paid for it. Not why would you want to buy my service? How do I speak to you? That was such an interesting concept to me.
Well, what have you learned ongoing now, mentoring UT athletes and students? What are they teaching you?
That everybody has different passions, and I think for me it was always about the service company side. But what they've taught me is that the world is changing immensely, and it's creating all these new industries and new services that need to be done that didn't exist 10 years ago. And some of them are passionate about those, but it goes back to the core philosophy of, can you build a great team of A players, and can you put process in place? And I think that's been fun to talk to them about in industries that literally didn't exist when I was in school.
Well, let's talk about the present now. Let's bring people up to like where you are today with Serve and some of the other things. But let's start with AI. I think that I don't talk a lot about AI in the show, but if there's any time to talk about it, I feel like it's now. And also specifically for a service business, right. I think most people would go like, well, you can't automate, you can't AI this. Sure. What are you trying to use AI for in your businesses, and where do you go, no, this is a differentiator for us?
Yeah, and even go back to our name in Serve, CERV. To us, that was like a very tech forward, modernized approach of the word service. And so we thought about our business. Yes, do we think that robots are going to be mowing commercial lawns or cleaning buildings in the short term? No, but AI can help us in so many ways with insights about who our customers are. It's way better at scheduling, for instance, than a lot of humans are. We use it to augment a lot of different things in our business, because we eventually want to be a very, very tech forward, AI focused business that still provides a great service, right? We're not losing the people side, but we are implementing it throughout our business in very many ways.
Well, let's talk about this concept that I found on your website that I know you guys really practice, which is sophisticate the unsophisticated. What does it actually mean to you, and how do you apply that?
Again, you think about our type of industries, and I think people would call them words like blue collar or unsophisticated. But how do we bring the professionalism, the process, the business principles to these quote unquote unsophisticated industries? And so the sophistication historically showed up in, can we build teams? Can we bring people from outside industries, right? Maybe you've run global tech, sales organizations or done different things that bring a new level of professionalism and sophistication to our industry. And then now that looks a lot like, how do we layer in technology? How do we layer in AI? We're building our own ERP system that will be fully proprietary to us. We're rolling that out in a couple of months here. And so that's tangible sophistication. But I think a lot of it has just been sort of again, white collar, for lack of a better term, principles applied to an unsophisticated industry.
Understood. So where do you think money's being made in Austin right now? We know the service industry. Let's talk about some other areas. What else are you seeing when you survey the landscape of Austin? Where else do you see opportunity?
There's a ton, right? I mean, AI is a huge area. I think, 26 people are going to make over $100 million on SpaceX's IPO, right? There's all these crazy things that are happening.
Probably here in town too.
Exactly, yeah. But that's 26 people in Austin. Yeah, they're going to do. It's crazy. But I think this industry, this city was built on things like real estate and more of the grittier industries. And I think those still continue to be just incredible things to be involved in the city.
What do you think people overlook about service businesses? I mean, if I need something, I need janitorial service, I call up, get a couple quotes, find someone. What do I not understand about it from your side of the business?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that that these companies are, just like any other business, and we kind of go hire some people to clean the building or do whatever. But from a back office and culture perspective, no one takes care of these frontline team members, right? They're trying to squeeze additional margin by, paying that person 25 cents less and cutting hours for them. We've taken a completely opposite philosophy, because if you can build a culture on the front line and those people want to go work for you, and as we're scaling, it creates a massive bench for us of people that want to work there. But B, you actually get such better service. They're smiling in your buildings. They're excited to be there. They're excited to wear CERB on their chest. But building a culture from the frontline teams all the way up to through our sales organizations, that is such an important thing that I think people don't understand about our industry.
Your focus is on the Southeast. You have Austin as your HQ, at least from what I understand.
Yes.
Tell me about some of the other cities that you're in, because I'm curious your comparisons between some of those cities and maybe how Austin's different or not compared to those.
Yeah, I mean, of course, every city has their own, unique microculture and things like that. But it's been fun to go to a city like Nashville, right? That's been a booming market for us, and it feels like Austin a couple years ago.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, tell me a little bit about how it mirrors and echoes itself as someone that has a business in both places.
Yeah, you're seeing. I mean, you're seeing big corporations move there. You're seeing all these young people that are excited. Vanderbilt's just outside of Nashville, just like UT's right outside of Austin. It's been a fun thing to watch. That real estate has boomed. It's brought tech there. It's brought young people. It's got a culture and a vibe that's really cool and does feel a lot like Austin.
So Nashville, Austin, I kind of look at those two cities as comparative, maybe in population growth, maybe a few years behind for Nashville, but what are some cities that maybe are up and coming cities in the Southeast that maybe are the next Austin?
Yeah, a city like Raleigh-Durham is really interesting. We've spent a lot of time looking at that. Tampa's booming. There's a lot of fun places. We love Charleston. That's a great market for us.
Great market, yeah.
So it's fun to kind of see. And I think we have this really interesting insight actually about what's going on in cities, because we're the first to know about, what's happening real estate wise. We go clean the building. Are people investing? Are they putting coffee shops in the lobby of their office building? What's happening? And that can kind of tell you a lot about and signal what's
So your employees are almost like spies.
A little bit.
I like this. Okay, so let's go back to Austin a little bit more again, because you went to school here. You obviously have roots here. You love UT, love the lake. So that's obvious. Like, I would want to live here too. But as you think about having a business and running it from here, what makes Austin different? Why do you continue to want to grow in the city?
Austin, I think one of the unique identities that Austin has is it's very progressive in the way that people think, right? So when you think about tech here, right? A lot of people don't know one of the largest VC firms is headquartered in Austin, Texas. There's so much happening from a next generation thought perspective. That even in industries like ours, we're attracting talent that is thinking about what's happening 10 years from now, not here's what I've done for the last 30 and let's just kind of keep doing that. So being in this vibrant city that's growing and has a really unique culture and thought perspective, I think has been just incredible for us.
How much do you think in terms of picking markets and going places has to do with just pure population growth, and how much has to do with maybe some of the intangibles or things you look for?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some of the baselines, right? We need corporations to be moving there. We need population to be growing. But, what's the labor market like? And that's one of the interesting things about the cities we've grown in is, maybe there's some local mom and pop players in our spaces, and maybe there's a big national giant there. But if you have not had that growth, if it's very recent and all those kind of things, you end up in this place where the labor market is tough. Right. And so what's the availability of us to hire the workforce needed to go fulfill the services that we're performing?
When we think about the growth we're seeing in East Austin, we're seeing Circuit of the Americas now, that Coda Land and everything else that's happening. I have clients out there with properties and the values are skyrocketing. It's really interesting to watch. But when you see growth in that area, what businesses do you think quietly benefit the most that maybe aren't just service businesses? What else do you see as maybe another sector or two that are valuable?
Yeah, I mean, obviously real estate is important, but I think what you're seeing is, industrial sites and, data centers and all these other things The restaurants out there, hotels are getting built, right? It's really exciting to see things that would normally happen in kind of a city center, but with, a lot of things kind of pushing out there. It's fun to watch those local businesses doing well also.
What trends in the city make you optimistic for the future?
Everyone kind of freaks out when we have this massive real estate boom and they're like, oh my gosh, it's overbuilt and all these kind of things. But people have to remember that Austin is still an amazing city. We just had 1 million in an NSA population.
That's right.
This city is still growing, and seeing it from even our hospitality. I'm involved in a couple different concepts. And
talk about those. Tell me about them.
Yeah, we have a cocktail lounge called Powder Room.
Okay.
We've got a diner on South Congress called Toasty Badger, and we're about to open a restaurant, sports bar called Austin Sports Club with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Tell me more about this. I want to know more about working with Kevin Durant.
Yes, it's fun. Obviously, he's got a whole team behind him, which is fun. But it's so cool to bring concepts. Are the people that operate it for us. And really we're the visionaries behind it. They come from really large hospitality, like SBE and things, and to have that kind of talent and vision coming into Austin and being able to support that has been so cool to watch.
We need sports bars bad in Austin.
Bad.
We do. I don't feel like there's enough out there. I mean, all due respect to Pluckers or Cover 3, but there's not enough competition.
Absolutely.
So
how do we elevate that a little bit?
What's it going to look like? What's the concept going to look like? What's the imagination?
Yeah, it's like vintage, nice sports club. So, it has the mahogany wood and there's like a locker concept, and it's going to be a nice sit down restaurant part of it, but then have the, TVs everywhere and a nice bar atmosphere as well.
And how about the Toasty Badger on South? I've never been there. South Congress?
South Congress, yeah. I think we're in like the top pancake of Austin, race right now.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
It's a diner concept, vintage kind of 70s vibe.
What are you close to? What are you next to?
It is just north of Oldthorpe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the left side. It used to be, I think it was like South Side Flying Pizza or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the corner. It's an interesting spot. And then we've got Manny's, which is a coffee shop and Cuban sandwich place. And then through Manny's, it's kind of a speakeasy upscale cocktail lounge called Powder Room.
Okay. So there's a lot going on there. And when you say we, there's Emery Oak, there's Serve,
yes,
there's the real estate fund, and then some of these other things are even outside ventures. They're part of Emery Oak as well.
I don't know
with others.
Yeah. So it's called Lobos Hospitality. That group. There's a few of us in the GP, 3 kind of core operators, and then a couple others, and then we've got investors in each concept.
So I mean, you're spreading your wings and doing other things. I mean, if you had another area, or maybe you can tell me if you're looking at other opportunities, but. What are some other sectors you're looking at right now?
I think it's all about focus and I'm just curious. We got hospitality, we got real estate, we got service. Service is really taking up most of my time because it's just we're growing really fast and we have over execution has to be the mantra, and we're building our team and hiring, and so it's been fun.
What's your footprint look like in Austin in terms of employees and services that you have here?
Yeah, so we have all of our services stood up here. So we've got pest control, landscaping, janitorial, pool care, and exterior, which is kind of window washing, power washing. We've got, I believe it's almost a couple hundred employees here, just in the Austin area.
Okay.
We service, all over, down even into San Antonio. So it's fun. And our HQ is here. And so we've got a branch location plus HQ, and everybody kind of celebrates what's going on here. It's really exciting.
What's unique about your culture? What do you think when you get the employees together? What's something that you really love about that?
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time. I was in Nashville yesterday, and I was out there, showing the guys, hey, this is what perfection in landscaping. And I'm not just going to bark at you. I'm going to show you. We're going to do it. And I think from top to bottom, we do kind of a servant leadership program where we go right along with crews and technicians and do the work. We're like the last man on the totem pole. But it's just, we care about them and we spend time with them and we show them what good looks like. And so instead of kind of being at odds with the frontline team because we're always arguing about pay or hours or something, we embrace them and make them the center of everything going on for us.
So a lot of our listeners are business owners, leaders, executives in the city. Most of your business is working with those people because you're almost all commercial or you have a little bit of residential. Tell me about that breakdown.
Like 90% commercial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone says, hey, I have a pool and I need some pest control out this direction, you're like, hey, call Serve?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're willing to grow in either direction, but
100%.
commercial is probably more repeatable, reliable, and it's a good business model for you.
It is, yeah, and it's what I know best. But we do a great job for many homeowners as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember reading in your bio about this Dripping Springs construction company you bought.
Mm-hmm.
$2 million company that grew to $30 million in, did I hear 3 years?
3 years. We bought it in March of 2017, and the official closing was October of 2020.
And that sold to a public company, did it?
Public company, yeah, called Brightview.
So how does that happen? I mean, I'm just curious because tell me about, it was just you, a team. How did you stand that thing up and what were the differentiators to turn that into a much bigger company?
Yeah, again, I think people think like, oh, you guys must have created something that was just bespoke and out of this world.
Yeah.
But it was. We built an incredible team. We had an incredible culture, and we did incredible work, right? And so it really was as simple as that. And that created this referral pipeline, and we partnered with, developers, and we were doing portfolios for different property management groups. It really was just that people loved doing business with us. People loved working for us. We put out a great product as a result. And so that was as simple as the formula was.
Okay. I want to turn to the dark side of Austin for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about some of the positive, optimistic trends. Tell me about the trends that you worry a little bit about for Austin the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, we did overbuild, I think, from a multifamily perspective, at least in the actual CBD in downtown. I hope Austin doesn't trend too much toward tech, right? I mean, obviously we have a lot of VC activity. I mean, Capital Factory's been here forever doing, great things on the tech side. But I hope Austin doesn't lose the fabric of, we're still a hardworking Texas town that was built on real estate and other industries. We still are a college town. Let's invest in the students. I hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it will. But we're turning a little techie right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? It'll all, I think, iron out.
We're going to go to break, and I'm going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about tech with you. So we're with Kade Thomas, founder and CEO of Emery Partners and Serve Property Solutions, about the overlooked opportunities hiding underneath Austin's growth. If you're enjoying this conversation, make sure to subscribe, rate, like, share Austin Eras wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to stay plugged into what's happening around the city with our take, from business to culture to live music and events, check out the Austin Eras Listening Room newsletter we just launched at austineras.com.
In every episode of Austin Eras, we uncover the city's history, vibrant present, and bold future. Just like Austin, your financial journey is a story worth crafting. At Collective Advisors, led by Adam Flagg, managing partner, senior wealth advisor, and certified financial planner professional, your story is in skilled hands. From investments to retirement planning, Adam and his team bring together a collective of dependable professionals to help you build, maintain, and enjoy financial security. Start your financial legacy today at collectiveadvisors.com or call 512-467-1923. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Welcome back to Austin Eras. Today we're talking with Kade Thomas about entrepreneurship, growth, and why some of Austin's biggest opportunities may exist in places most people overlook. And we were just talking about tech, and I promised we'd come back and talk about tech. We're going to have some guests on the show later this year that wrote a book called The Cost of Cool. John Roberts and Trace McDaniel about how tech might have maybe overinflated some areas, and we just were talking about that before the break. Do you think Austin's obsession with startups and tech have caused people to overlook where real opportunity actually exists?
I do in a way. I mean, I think what's great about Austin is you spend time around people that are thinking, 10 years ahead, and robotics and AI and all of these things. And what's been fun is now you think about how to apply that to your business. But all the new students coming out, it's like, how do I create the next, XYZ unicorn company? I think we need to make sure that they understand that there's other things that fuel the economy that have to get done. There's real opportunity there as well.
I mean, if you look at like a venture capital fund, for every 7 to 10 opportunities, one actually hits.
Right.
So, and that's the people the venture fund is investing in, let alone all the other companies. So to me, it's intriguing. I watch sometimes clients go from one company to the other, get equity in a company. And,
right.
And is this a lottery ticket, or is it the real deal, or is it worth nothing?
Right. I mean, you think about a venture capital firm, and I think the statistic is that 1 of 10 deals work.
Yeah.
how many thousands of deals did they look at before they even picked those 10 though? Right. Yeah. So there's, thousands and tens of thousands of companies that are getting pitched. Only a very small percent of it getting money, and then only 1 of 10 of those are actually, creating real value.
Hence why $1 billion IPOs are called unicorns. Right?
Exactly.
It's just that rare.
Right.
So yeah, I get that. So do you think too many people are chasing exits, whether this is in the tech space or not? Do you think people are always thinking about the end rather than building a sustainable business?
I do. I think there's this obsession with, what's my next valuation, of my Series A or Series B or Series C or whatever it is. And I think those are oftentimes very inflated. And so what is the actual underlying value of the business? What change are you delivering? What value are you creating for your customer? And I think that's our approach, right? Is there's so much private equity activity in the space, and it's all about roll-ups and multiples and multiple arbitrage and all these kind of things. All fancy, great. People are making a lot of money doing it. Congratulations. But it's state of decaying the experience for customers and for employees, and people are getting synergized out. And so we've just taken this approach of let's double down on that. What is creating real value for the customer? It's a fun story quickly. I had a crew from my last business, and we did landscaping at a very large HOA on Lake Travis, one of the bigger contracts in Austin. And obviously we sold that contract and as part of the business. 5.5 years later now, we're standing out there, and that customer was commenting on how their experience over time, right? They had moved on from even the company we sold to, and just weren't getting it. And then the thesis behind Serve was, how do we really simplify a property manager's life? And one of those things was we had multi-vertical. And so starting at the beginning of this month, it was incredible to feel we brought the same team back that used to work there. And now I have not just that team, but I've got our pool team, our pest team, our janitorial team, and our power washing team all on site, meeting with the same developer and the same property manager, signing up with us now. And it just was one of those rewarding moments to say, I was so proud we had this contract in landscaping before. Now, the real thesis and value we wanted to create, and the excitement that was on our team's face, now that we had done that and brought them back to Serve was fun.
I used to be in a business where we did employee benefits, healthcare, and it felt very, very transactional, not relational at all.
Right.
I think service can feel very transactional and not relational. And what you just told makes me sound like you kind of cracked the code on how to make it relational versus transactional. Is there a few tips that you give business owners on how to do that better?
People always chase the next best contract or the next thing, right? And the reality is a customer is way cheaper to retain than it is to go get a new one. And so the biggest thing for scalability and growth that we've focused on is, yes, let's go get that set of contracts, but then let's service them so well that they become our best referral source and our best source of growth. But we don't just go get a new contract. We forget about the 100 that we already have. We've got to double down constantly on the current business, and that's infrastructure you got to put in place. It's health checks you got to have, and that becomes your biggest growth source.
We talked about University of Texas a few times and what you're doing with the mentorship side. Mm-hmm. And I want to learn a little bit more about what mentoring students looks like to you, and also maybe a success story or two of some of the students you have mentored.
Yeah, those are always the fun part, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you go guest lecture in an entrepreneurship class, and you're hearing these pitches that these little the groups of students have come up with, and one of them actually ended up interning with us for a summer, and learned a ton, and at the end of that internship came to me and said, hey, I've got this business idea, and I think it'd be really cool, and I want to go do it. And we went back and forth on his business plan a few times, and then he ended up launching the business, and he graduated from UT, didn't go take a Wall Street job. He's working on that exact business. And it was one that started with an entrepreneurship pitch. He kind of perfected it through the internship he had with us, kind of pitched me on it, and it's been fun to kind of support and watch that.
Local business? Can you disclose the name?
I don't know. I don't know if it makes it.
Service business.
It's not a service.
It's not.
No, it's actually a real estate business.
Okay.
So kind of tangentially related to what we do. But he was just the data and how to go get customers and how to build a team. It was fun to help him with that.
One thing I think people want to know is, as Austin changes in the next 10 years, does anything really change in your mind about the future? I feel like service business is a service business, and that doesn't change. But are there certain things you think may change as we look at the economy in Austin?
I do think so. I mean, I think what's inevitably going to happen is that people that embrace technology, that embrace AI, and figure out a way to help, or use that to augment their core business are going to be the winners, right? That's not unique to Austin. That's, I think, just any business. And so it's this concept of you've got to marry the talent and the ideas of things happening in the tech and AI sector here with kind of your core expertise and passion. And I think Austin is a unique place, and I think you're going to see a lot of value and wealth created here because we have such a forward-thinking group of people.
I think one of the drawbacks is constantly transportation, though.
For sure.
And if we think about transportation service, I can imagine like if you've got a crew that's going from one corporate contract to the other, how much time might be wasted in traffic. I wonder how much more hyper local the city will become in different areas where you have a crew that only works like Northeast or Northwest, or if you're already doing that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we were really, more of a logistics business than anything else. And we were dispatching and moving in real time. And so, we had to pay up for a location that was right next to a highway, that was centrally located, because these are serious problems. I mean, an extra, if I've got 100 guys and, let's say they make, $20 an hour, right? That's serious money. We're paying $2,000 an hour, and for them to sit in traffic for a couple hours a day, those are real costs incurred, which, have to get passed on to the customer and things like that. So it will, I think, drive a more hyper-local mentality.
I think that's a serious challenge for sure. And I think the other challenge that I remember hearing 10, 15 years ago about Austin is Austin become San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Like, do you become so wealthy that there's no people there to actually do the work? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we look at the city, we look at Pflugerville, Maynard, Bastrop, Kyle. How do you get people to come into the city and do the work when that's a long drive for them too? I mean, I'm curious as an employer and how that's going to continue to change.
It's changed drastically. I mean, 6 years ago when we had the landscape business, people lived in 78704 or 78745. Those are very normal neighborhoods for our workforce to live in. Now it's Kyle. It's, that's even gotten expensive. So now it's Lockhart. I mean, they're driving 45, 50 minutes to an hour to work. And unfortunately, I think with the growth of cities like Austin, that's going to continue to happen. We've got to figure out a way. I know, the local government's trying to do a lot around affordability and housing and density and all those things, which those will help. But I think unfortunately it's going to continue to trend in this direction.
Yeah. I mean, when does the commute get so far that people don't want to come in anymore?
Exactly.
Yeah. Or the wages have to change.
Right. I mean, you've already seen it. I mean, the average wage for even our sectors has gone up dramatically in the last 6 years since we were operating in the same industry again,
and providing all the benefits and everything else. Right. Yeah, I can imagine it gets even bigger and bigger. What do you think companies do? I mean, private equity, it's kind of a conflicted word, right? In the population, some people are like, "Hey, private equity is tearing things apart." I can tell from the way you run your business that is not what you do, right? You're building, you're scaling, you're growing. But I think the bad rap of private equity is like, hey, you're going to tear things out, chew them up, and sell them. How are you going to scale in the future if we've got these challenges in Austin? What do private equity companies do? Do you go, well, I love you, Austin, but I need to shift more attention to a different city? Or how would you operate as a business owner, taking Austin out of the equation?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see this in any industry, right? As costs go up, prices just go up. Yeah, right? And so I don't think you're going to see sort of a fleet away from Austin. But what will happen over time, and I think you have already seen this, is the consumer, whether you're a commercial property owner or a residential homeowner, the cost of service is going to continue to rise, and it already has.
Yeah. I mean, if you were 22 years old again, mm-hmm. and you were starting today, we talked a little bit about the $10,000 at the beginning, but what would you build? Would you continue down the same path, or is there another business that you go, man, I really want to try that right now in today's world?
I think that's what's fun about what we're doing. We have such a moat around kind of what we're building. There's just no one trying to build a multi-vertical commercial services primarily platform. And they're certainly not thinking about building their own tech and augmenting that with AI and doubling down on having 100% in-house workforce. We don't subcontract anything. I think you're seeing more people that are saying, well, it's much easier to just hire these contractors, but you can't control the experience or the in-service. And so I think what we're doing is incredibly differentiated, and this is exactly what I would do again.
I love that. Not everyone would repeat the same thing, but I think now with AI influencing it, we talked a little bit about that with Claude coding and everything else. Is that something you're pursuing or looking at, or are you looking for young graduates to help out your company in that space too?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's super fun. I was literally sitting in a meeting yesterday, and a guy at our firm that kind of runs go-to-market engineering, we call it, but really driving those sequences to help us get new customers. Taught himself Claude coding, and it was showing us a dashboard that he had built, and it was like, whoa, this is really where we are. This is exactly the dashboard I wanted that was talked about 24, 48 hours ago, and now you've just layered it on top of our CRM, and it's done. Like that was not possible. You'd had to pay $100,000 and wait 6 months for that in the past. And literally in 24 hours, it was not just like, oh, that, maybe we could get this there. It was like, this is it. This is exactly what I want.
That's amazing.
It's so cool.
Do you feel like that will accelerate business growth dramatically, or do you think it'll scale back hiring? I'm curious about the end effects of some of those things.
Yeah, I think businesses are going to be way smarter about who they're serving, how to tailor the service better. I think the experience for the customer will get better. And we go back and kind of now marry this concept with what we were just talking about of, labor costs going up and things like that. Over time, the utilization of technology and what that does on corporate overhead will help actually offset some of the field labor costs that are going to continue to rise. And I think that's a positive, right? So these people are getting a little higher wage. We're smarter about service, so the customer's getting a better service. And hopefully the price doesn't have to go up that much long term.
So as someone scaling a big business in Austin and someone that's really doing some interesting things in the city, imagine you're talking to business owners, leaders, executives, people engaged in the community. What would you want them to know about the business that you're running and how they can help in the community to really help businesses like yours thrive and continue to grow? What do we need to do better as leaders?
Yeah, Austin is such a magical place. And I think if we just harness the power, everyone here wants to help each other, right? I mean, as big of a town as Austin has become, like the people that are building awesome things here, it's a pretty small community. We all kind of know each other, and just harnessing the power of that network and that relationship, even if we're competitors, right?
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to drive growth and be successful. I mean, we can help each other do that.
That's actually my next question, which is what mentors, communities, or environments should people plug into? What have you found to be helpful? Obviously, UT is a huge ecosystem.
It is.
People that haven't gone to UT like myself, how did they get plugged in? And also, what other things outside of UT do you love?
Yeah, all great questions. I mean,
What's your baby? Sorry.
No, it's great. I mean, I'm in a kind of peer group called Tiger 21. There's YPO. There's all these other things that I think are pretty great. And then I think it's just spending time being out, being social, right? Whether that's time at Zilker Park or, at a cocktail lounge or at the hotspot restaurants. Everyone, no matter, where you fall from a, socioeconomic status or anything is all hanging out at the same places. And that's fun and, just be social.
So what do you think we have to protect as we grow? What do you think, Austin, just think cultural, what do we have to do better as you look at it from a business owner perspective in this city to make sure that we retain the heart of what we are?
We have to keep investing in the things that built Austin, right? Live music and, outdoor activities and all of those kind of things. But the community here, right? I think we just have to remember that, oh my gosh, yes, we have 1 million people now, but that really doesn't change the fact that we need to keep driving community and spending time together.
So if someone listening feels intimidated by entrepreneurship or feels like they missed the boat, I feel like a lot of people feel like, I missed the boat. Like, I wish I had done this 5 years ago, 10 years
Right.
ago. What would you want them to understand about the opportunity ahead?
That there are so many core businesses that make the world go round. And maybe you miss the trend on, being the first person to do X, but you don't have to be the first person to do X to be an entrepreneur. And that's what's fun is, whether it's starting your own pest control business or, investing in real estate or, doing whatever. There are so many foundational industries that are going nowhere, and you just got to start and build a great team, build processes and do well. And it's not that intimidating because you don't have to create the next Uber or something. There's so many other ways to be an entrepreneur.
Really appreciate you being on the show, Kate. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I think a lot of people in Austin are wrestling with that feeling that we just talked about. The city's already been built. They didn't start a tech company. They didn't buy a house 15 years ago. They didn't buy before COVID. They missed their shot. And I think what I appreciate about your story is that it points to something different. It gives people hope. Gives people a chance to know, hey, I can do this. This is what's happening. Austin's still being built in real time.
Right.
Like, we're still a premier city in the world, premier city in the United States, and there's still opportunity. And I think they're hiding. Sometimes there's growth, there's infrastructure. So I think, I wrote down, we have about 2.65 million people in the 5-county metropolitan area.
Unbelievable.
1 million now in the city. We hit that mark in 2025, but they just announced it just recently. So I think the future of entrepreneurship is not about creating the next app. That's what I take away from this.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think finding those overlooked problems and solving them well. I hope our listeners find your services, and maybe even reach out and talk to you. I love the flexibility of this community to be able to share perspectives. So thanks again, Kade Thomas, Serve Property Solutions.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Austin Eras, featuring Adam Flagg, is brought to you by Collective Advisors. Collective Advisors offers investment advisory services through CWM LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Guests on Austin Eras are not affiliates of CWM LLC, and opinions expressed by guests may not reflect those of CWM LLC. This show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes and is not intended to provide specific legal, tax, or other professional advice. For a comprehensive review of your personal situation, always consult with a qualified professional.